With Venom Let There Be Carnage coming out at the end of this week, I thought it'd be a good opportunity for me to revisit the previous Venom film, just to see if it's just as bland and boring as I thought it was the first time around. Reporter Eddie Brock pushes a little too far when pursuing a story. He loses his job and his fiancée and finds himself trying to pick up the pieces. After a tip-off that he might have been onto something nefarious, he becomes adjoined to an alien organism known as Venom. Now the two are one, and it's up to them to prevent a catastrophe from finding its way back to Earth. I've got to start off by saying that I did enjoy my recent rewatch of Venom more than when I initially saw the film back in 2018. That isn't saying much since I still don't really care for this film all too much. But this time around I do see what people would gravitate to, and while those things didn't work for me, I could see them working for others. The cast, led by Tom Hardy in the lead roles, is pretty solid. The only actor that manages to outshine Hardy, in my opinion, is Riz Ahmed as the film's main antagonist. While all the actors involved do what I'm sure was asked of them, there are times where they do feel like each of them are acting in totally different films as we jump from scene to scene. It's something that bugged me the first time around and still does to this day. I think my biggest positive had to be the editing. The first time I saw this, I felt like the film dragged and was boring, and it really took forever for things to start happening. I am happy to say this time around that I thought the editing kept the film moving through the painstakingly boring and uninteresting scenes, ultimately getting to the end of the film and allowing me to turn the film off altogether. I am only partially joking around there, but in all seriousness, I think the way this film is edited is actually pretty tight, and there isn't much filler or unnecessary fluff. I also think that making a villain like Venom more of an anti-hero and making his host/partner Eddie Brock a three-dimensional character really adds a level of investment that I didn't expect or initially give the film credit for. I also had some issues with the big climactic battle at the end of the film when I first saw the movie, just chalking it up to a big, messy CGI mess of sequences. While that is still sort of the case, I didn't find the CGI heaviness as much of a burden this time around. There's plenty of things that didn't work for me in this. The CGI is very rough at times, and I think they could have taken more time to really make Venom and his gooiness look a little more blended in with the world around it. There were just too many times that it looked like a bad made-for-TV effect, and there really is an excuse for that when a film like this has the budget that it does. Venom wasn't the only effect that looked out of place. Several backgrounds and objects just looked and were obvious post-production effects that it really did take me out of the film. We're inundated with so much superhero and comic book material brought to the big screen that it's easy to be feeling a little superhero fatigue. This film, however, does give off more of a vibe from the era of superhero films from the early 2000s. That's not a bad thing per se, but in the era of superhero filmmaking we're in currently, the end results of this film just seem lesser than. This is by no means an awful train wreck of a film, but it just takes a step back to the more thoughtless, action effects heavy films that preceded our current state of the genre. Personally, this isn't one I'd go out of my way to recommend, but I think it still has plenty to offer for those just looking to have a fun time with a superhero property. I certainly don't love this film, but I also don't hate it, but it does just barely get a C from me. It's about as bland and middle of the road as a film can get. Its high and low points are few, but it carefully walks a familiar enough line that it doesn't go out of its way to be truly memorable one way or the other. What I will say is that I am more interested in where this film ends off and where this story could go. Have you guys ever seen Venom? If not, are you at least curious? Leave your comments below. If you guys enjoyed the review, share it with your friends. Leave a like and subscribe for future reviews and other fun videos. Until the next one, I'll be seeing you.